week's drive, we see how a first-timer took on the big boys and beat them.
Newman is around. Several cars involved.
Watch as Irish eyes smile on a winner. Salute the passing of an enduring London landmark. And wonder if the laws of physics have been suspended. All this and more in this week's Drive. Racing engineers of the future develop their skills in the Society of Automotive Engineers Formula SAE competitions, held annually in the USA, Britain, Brazil, Italy and Australasia. 25 university teams competed in the Australasian event at Werribee in Victoria, including 2 from Japan and 1 each from New Zealand and India. The competition requires students to design, fabricate and compete with small Formula-style racing cars, similar to those that would be raced in sprint or hill climb events. There are few restrictions on the car's frame and engine, so that the creativity and imagination of the students are challenged. The cars are built in a team effort over 1 year, and the result is a great experience for young engineers. Cars are judged in 3 different categories: static inspection and engineering design, solo performance trials and high-performance track endurance. The chief design judge was Ron Turanak, former Brabham Formula One team owner. A total of 1,000 points are available for static and dynamic events. Students assume that a manufacturing firm has engaged them to produce a prototype car for evaluation as a production racing car. The car must have high performance in terms of its acceleration, braking and handling. However, it must also be low cost, easy to maintain and reliable. Scrutineering ensures that the cars are ready for competition. In the presentation stage, the merits of the design have to be explained to the judges. Engineering design rewards the concept and execution of the car. In the cost stage, the teams have to show what it would cost to build the required number of cars, demonstrating knowledge of both engineering and manufacturing. Some cars' brakes worked better than others. Teams must get through all these stages before they're able to compete in the dynamic events. The skid pan measures the vehicle's maximum cornering capability through tight left and right-hand circles. The acceleration event focuses on engine performance, transmission and suspension design over a 75-metre sprint. Full-bore racing from Swinburne University are frequent class winners. Defending champions Steel City Racers from Wollongong University used a turbocharged Honda engine and a limited slip differential from a quad bike. SAE cars are allowed 610cc capacity engines producing up to 80 brake horsepower. Injection systems, differentials, traction control and suspension are all areas where teams can innovate. The autocross tests the car's manoeuvrability on a tight 1 kilometre course with the car running solo. Deakin Race Technologies has an asymmetrical sidewinder car with a wide front track, 4-wheel steering and a KTM 525cc single-cylinder engine. Hitting cones, like the Queensland University of Technology, incurs a time penalty. Wings and ground effects are allowed, but those using them have to be sure that the benefits outweigh the costs. One of the favourites, the University of Western Australia, won the presentation, design and autocross sections. Most teams have space frame steel chassis, but a few have produced carbon fibre monocoques, offering lighter weight, more rigidity but increased manufacturing cost. The University of Queensland won the acceleration test and was 3rd in the autocross. The top speed reached is over 100 kilometres an hour, so they are pushing along. This was the first competition for RV College from Bangalore in India. The University of Auckland had a carbon chassis and impressive presentation. Victoria University's first entrance in Formula SAE was a challenge and time beat them. Day 3 was dry and hot with a gusty wind, preparing for the endurance and fuel economy events, the ultimate test for FSAE cars. These are worth 400 out of the 1,000 points available. The RMIT car coasted to a halt with a slipping clutch, a real blow for the team's hopes. At any one time, there are 4 cars on track. They don't race wheel to wheel because the tight course doesn't allow it, but anyone caught by a faster car has to stop in the passing zone and let the quicker car through. An off-track excursion for Redback Racing. The Enduro is run in 2 parts, morning and afternoon, with 4 drivers completing 5.5 kilometres each, for a total of 22 kilometres. Faculty advisor at Denkai University, Dr. Sano, retired after the event. He is remembered as having worked on Honda's Formula One team in the 1960s. Too many hits on the bodywork, and something has to give on their car. The tight track means drivers have to concentrate all the time. With RMIT stopping out on the circuit and Wollongong being pushed away, it looks like the Formula SAE title is finally heading to Western Australia. The checkered flag for the University of WA after the final leg of the Enduro. Driver Peter Marsh is delighted and relieved.
The car's a little bit faster than last year's car, but I guess we just had a card fall our way. We've been close the last 2 years. We've been very close. We've led on Saturday night, but we've gone out with hot start issues in the Enduro, and we had no problems at all. We've got 3 hot starts from the car with that recent just stop there with RMIT going out, and haven't had a problem. It was a lot of hard work. It took a hell of a lot of work to get it here today. 2 weeks ago, it didn't look so good. In fact, 1 week ago, it didn't look so good. But we're here and we've done it, and we're very, very happy.
Second was the University of Queensland, followed by Wollongong and Tokyo's Denkai University in 4th. Monash University's wing car was 6th, just behind the University of New South Wales, Redback Racing. The end of the event and time to relax after a year of hard work. The University of Western Australia scored 952 points out of a possible 1,000, the highest ever score obtained in Formula SAE competition. This is the ideal training ground for Formula One engineers, so some of these students might soon be celebrating a Grand Prix win. Daytona International Speedway hosted the 28th running of the Budweiser Shootout, the opening race of the 2006 NASCAR season. The shootout is only open to drivers who won a pole position last season and past winners of the race. It's run in 2 segments of 20 and 50 laps. With 6 laps left in the first segment, there was a multi-car crash involving Ryan Newman, Dale Jarrett, Casey Kane and Brian Vickers. Denny Hamlin was only the 2nd rookie to ever qualify for the event and was the surprise performer of the day. The rookie led for 16 of the 70 laps and appeared to be heading towards an easy win, before Tony Stewart, his veteran teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing, used a wide pass to take the lead from him with just 4 laps to go. But seconds after Stewart moved to the front, the caution flag came out for debris on the track, setting up a 2-lap shootout to the finish. Stewart restarted on the bottom of the track with Hamlin right next to him. Hamlin quickly moved out in front and held on to win for the first time in NASCAR's Top Series. The victory earned him $213,000 US. Dale Earnhardt and Stewart finished 2nd and 3rd respectively. Scott Riggs was 4th and last year's winner, Jimmy Johnson, was 5th. The 25-year-old celebrated with burnouts on the track while his parents sobbed in celebration. Hamlin only competed in the final 7 races of last season. He responded with 3 top 10 finishes and 1 pole position at Phoenix, the second to last event of the year, to qualify for the Budweiser Shootout. Other side of the planet, in New Zealand, a packed arena witnessed the 2006 CIS Superstock Team Championship. It boils down to a very simple team event, one of the highlights of the New Zealand stock car calendar. But even though they may look like scaled-up funfair Dodgem cars, these aren't the average old-fashioned bangers. The high-performance, high-cost machines took to the track at Palmerston North in a 2-day showdown and team events that pitched the hometown heroes, the Palmerston North Panther cars, all black, against various other regional teams. Much to the delight of many in the crowd, the home team were in supreme form. After the Otago Cougars, the Rotorua Rebels and the Stratford Scrappers were brutally dispatched, the team champs final was against the Nelson Tigers. Nelson were in trouble even before the outbreak of hostilities, the fuel pump failing on Brendan Higgins' machine. That left the Tigers without a potential hitter, and with Peter Rees, the Panthers' main wrecker, officially titled the Blocker, intent on causing carnage. In the final, the brutal Black Marauders swept aside the Nelson Tigers in a display of tactical brilliance and destructive power. With the opposition largely sidelined, the Panthers strolled to their first title since 2002. Welcome to Piccadilly Circus now, one of London's greatest attractions, with its non-stop buzz of traffic and neon advertising lights. Equally famous is the Routemaster bus, one of the city's most recognisable icons. It's a red double-decker rumbling up and down the capital's narrow streets. Its open platform allows passengers to hop on and off when they wish to, paying the fare to the conductor. Travis Elborough is the author of The Bus We Loved, a book which explores the history of the Routemaster and its connection to the city and its residents.
It's born of London for London, and it's the last of its kind, the last sort of open platform bus built specifically for London. I mean, one of its kind of ethoses behind the design was that it was supposed to be, what the phrase at the time was, an attractive piece of street furniture. So it's sort of style to fit in with sort of London's landscape and also with kind of London Transport's own kind of heritage. So there's sort of sleek curves and everything that sort of match the shape and style of the city.
Created in 1947 to replace World War II-era trolleybuses, the snub-nosed, light-bodied Routemasters were hailed as revolutionary in meeting the challenges of negotiating London's crowded, winding streets. Between 1956 and 1968, a total of 2,760 Routemasters were put into service, with expectations that they would last no more than 17 years. But for 50 years after their debut, the view from upstairs was the same. Yet the much-loved Routemaster buses have been removed from the streets, variously condemned as expensive antiques, anachronisms, or too dangerous for 21st century traffic. Transport for London, the agency in charge of the city's bus systems, says that in addition to cost issues, the Routemasters don't comply with European Union regulations on safety and accessibility. As a replacement, the city has commissioned a greater number of bigger, boxy double-deckers with wheelchair access, and more notably, a fleet of so-called bendy buses, single-deck articulated buses that can carry up to 140 passengers.
There are about 750,000 Londoners who can't use these old things. There are all the people with mobility impairments and older people in London who can't step up steps. Anybody under 5 who uses the baby buggy can't use these things sensibly. They're crazy. They're last century's buses. This is transport apartheid. You know, it's like we got rid of bear baiting, we got rid of children going up chimneys to clean chimneys. You know, this was all part of London. We got rid of pubs that didn't let women in the toilets. Come on.
For tourists, the big red buses with their cramped stairwell and unique smell have been as much a part of London as Buckingham Palace for over half a century.
But there's nothing like a London bus. With its conductor, male, female, they're lively, they're alive, they know the city, and it's super to be on them.
Well, I've grown up with those. They're very good buses to get on and off of. You've got a long seat at the back with a bit of knee room, because when you're tall you don't fit on the seats very well. And I think it's a shame that they're going with the 159 on Friday.
Routemasters have been sold for years at prices between £2,000 and £12,000, but prices have soared since 2003 when the city began to cull the old models from its fleet.
There's an enormous sort of emotional attachment to these buses. I don't think that's purely a nostalgic thing. I think also a lot of it's just that the experience of travelling on them, for many people, you know, is more pleasurable than maybe travelling on certain replacements which kind of have all the aesthetics of the inside of a Hoover attachment.
It may be gone, but it's not forgotten. For many Londoners and visitors, the final journey of the once ubiquitous Routemaster will mean the end of an era. Visually impaired people in India's eastern Kolkata city recently had the chance to do something really unusual. They became the navigators in a rally. Nearly 50 cars navigated an 80-kilometre route in a car rally jointly organised by the National Association for the Blind and a city car club. The drivers, who were clueless about the route, took directions from partially sighted or blind people who read directions on a route schedule printed in Braille, which of course few sighted people can understand. For blind people, motorsport is a new and exciting experience. In this car rally, my work is to be the navigator. The navigator gives route directions. I have to read the navigating charts and give directions to the driver. According to the Blind Foundation in India, more than 13 million people in India are visually impaired, making up 1/3 of the world's blind population. Meanwhile, in the southern city of Bangalore, 30 vintage beauties came out on the road, attracting attention from curious onlookers. Heads turned as classic cars and motorcycles paraded majestically on the streets, brightening up the winter morning. The rally, organised by the Vintage Car Owners Association, saw cars like Ford, Austin, Fiat and Jaguar rolling out onto the streets, watched by an appreciative crowd. India is a treasure trove of classic vehicles, many dating back to before the country's independence from Britain in 1949. The 2006 World Superbike season is about to get underway, and after months of developing, practicing and testing, results on the track will do the talking. This year, no less than 3 class world champions will face each other, something that no other premier class of motorsport can boast. MotoGP has been the sole preserve of one man, and only 2 current or past Formula One champions are still racing.
I'm just approaching this year the same as I did last season. Confident that I have a good team and good package and good bike to work with. I think if we stay concentrated and work as we have been last year, I think the result will be the same for 206.
Corsa was hot in testing at Phillip Island. It was a different story in Qatar, where hostilities start for real. There, Corsa's fellow Australian and old rival Troy Bayliss was in explosive form. The 2001 World Superbike champion has returned from 3 years in MotoGP.
But this year, I think my main contender is going to be countryman Troy Corsa. He's got a lot of experience. He's won the championship before. He's got a great team behind him now on the Suzuki. They're doing a really good job.
There have been changes galore throughout the ranks of the World Superbike grid. One much-changed team is the new-look Tenkate Honda squad. Gone, inevitably, to MotoGP is last year's championship runner-up Australian Chris Vermeulen. Spearheading their challenge is the 2004 world champion James Toseland, partnered by the 2004 Supersport champion, yet another Australian, Carl Muggeridge.
After me winning the championship in 2004 and losing it last year, I want it back, you know, and I think I've got the package and the team to do it, you know. If the Honda can keep improving like it is doing, then for sure we'll be competitive.
Yamaha have 2 teams. Yamaha France will enter Norick Abe, Sebastian Gimbert and Shinichi Nakatomi. The Foggy Petronas team is owned by 4-times world champ Carl Fogarty and has Briton Craig Jones and yet another Australian, Steve Martin, in the saddle. That's on a 900cc 3-cylinder bike that makes 190 horsepower and weighs just 165 kilos. Yamaha Italy's team matches veteran wildman Nori Haga and, yes, yet another Australian rider, Andrew Pitt. All the ingredients are there for a wonderful championship. Belfast's Odyssey Arena played host to the 6th round of this year's Indoor Trials World Championship. Defending world champion Adam Raga was the man they all had to beat, but his 20-year-old Gas teammate Hironi Farhado made a fine start to the evening. Britain's Dougie Lampkin had brought plenty of fans from across the Irish Sea, and he didn't disappoint, despite suffering from 2 broken ribs. It looked as though he might have sustained further injury in this crash, but he was cleared to continue and later faced Fajardo in a runoff. 5-times champion Lampkin, who turns 30 in March, has had a poor season so far and was only 6th out of 7 in the previous round in Barcelona. In fact, he hadn't finished on the podium since his last appearance in Belfast 5 rounds previously. But the veteran delighted his fans to bounce back here in the 2-lane race, and he turned around fastest to defeat the new kid on the block for 2nd place. However, nobody could get close to Raga, who was again at his imperious best. The Spaniard has won the last 3 World Championships, and he showed why as he went on to clinch his 3rd win of the season. The 7th round of the championship would be the Grand Prix of Russia in St. Petersburg a week later, where Tony Bowe and Tadeusz Blazusiak would be the wildcard riders. In 2005, Adam Raga took the victory there, with Kapastani and Lamkin completing the podium. Despite being denied a Lamkin victory, the crowd of 5,000 were generous in their praise of Raga, who extended his championship lead to 11 points, with nearest challenger Albert Kapastani finishing down in 5th place behind Barcelona winner Tony Bowe. The brand new arena in Mannheim was packed as the first round of the 2006 Night of the Big Jump series got underway. Remy Bizard of France was first on the saddle as he completed a magnificent one-handed Superman seat grab Indian air to whet the appetite of the crowd. A stinging Super Scorpion followed. The finale was to be his party piece, but it cost him points. Failure to complete a backflip heel clicker saw him crash before receiving a standing ovation, and he would eventually finish 3rd with 262 points. Next up, the American high flyer Mike Mason. An outstanding Axis backflip kick-started his routine. Mason's backflip knack-knack had the crowd off their seats once more. This was a scintillating display as Mason performed a holy grab to perfection before sealing 2nd place overall with a tally of 313 points. However, the Night of the Jumps final belonged to a daredevil Norwegian. Andre Villa kicked off with a flawless sidewinder, and the performance just got better and better. A sublime one-handed heart attack racked up the points before he completed a tsunami kiss of death with panache. A whip then delighted his fans before he had the crowd in the palm of his hands as he executed a magnificent backflip can-can. Performing the tricks in the confine of the stadium is one thing, but the stopping distance after landing is very limited. Villa's piece de resistance then followed as he received a standing ovation for the supreme backflip knack-knack. He'd amassed 315 points overall, just 2 more than Mason, in a thrilling finale, and the Norwegian was more than satisfied with the result.
No, I didn't expect this at all before they went, and I was just super stoked that I did it.
You know, Andre just rode that good. It was tough between the 2 of us, you know. We both rode our asses off, basically, and the judges saw what they saw, and I'm pumped for Andre. I know he's just coming back from an injury, so it's cool to see him back on top, and it's going to be a long year. I'm battling this guy to the end.
Just a week later, the same riders would face the current world #1, Matt Ribot of Switzerland, and Americans Adam Jones and Ronnie Renner in rounds 2 and 3 of the Night of Jumps in Vienna in Austria. So whether you like to build your own racer or get into more robust forms of motor racing, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.